put off by the sort of title of the topic because it is quite simple and I will explain it later on. To run you through a brief outline of what I'm going to be talking about today, first I'll sort of introduce what is the situation in Brunei at the moment with regards to travel. So hopefully that will explain why I chose to do research on this topic. And then next I'll bring you through the general topic introduction, and then I'll narrow it down to my field of research and my dissertation. And lastly, I'll bring you through some of the challenges of using Brunei as a case study within this topic. So firstly, why I decided to do research on transport in Brunei. I'll briefly run you through a few statistics, I hope you don't get bored. And hopefully it will show why my research can potentially contribute to the nation's development. So we're a small country located in Borneo, but we do have big statistics. Firstly, I think all of us know this, we are a very car-dependent economy. I don't know if many of us know this, but we have the world's third highest per capita car ownership, which is sort of an indication of our standard of living in the country at the moment. We are also a very polluting country. We have the world's sixth highest carbon dioxide emissions per capita, according to the United Nations in 2008. Although I would like to stress that in absolute values, our carbon dioxide emissions are not large in comparison to the polluting juggernauts of USA and China. But per capita, we are quite high, so that is an indication of the amount of polluting activities that we do carry out in the country. This is another very important issue, and I think that it sort of follows on from what Dr. Zul was saying about oil resources in the country. In 2008, the government spent $202 million on fuel subsidies specifically for motorists. I think that's a very, very huge amount, and this actually quadrupled from 2004. So I think that is a very big increase in this time span of 4 years. To put it into context, because I know it can be quite an arbitrary figure, this amount could have sponsored 1,400 scholarship students, and also we could have built 12 schools in Brunei with this money. So that is an indication of the amount that we are spending on fuel subsidies. I think this links it with Dr. Supri's work on road safety, but I know that this chart doesn't really show us much because it just goes back 4 years. But I just put this in to show that this is an issue, road accidents is an issue in relation to transport in the country. And finally, last but not least, the only alternative form of public transport that we do have in the country is the purple bus. And I know it is relatively cheap compared to owning a car and sort of using your own car within the country. But there are arguments that the sort of this network distribution of the purple bus in the country is very poor. And there are also perceptions that it is unreliable, it is uncomfortable, and it is dominated by foreigners, I think that's what people say. So the current situation at the moment in the country, I'm not sure if all of us followed, but last week was the 5th Legislative Council meetings, as Dr. Zul mentioned just now. And what they actually brought up was the issue of public transport in the country. I think a member in the meeting questioned the minister what the government was currently doing about the state of public transport in the country. He asked that, and he also linked this in with congestion, because he did say that the number of cars on the road in Brunei at the moment is increasing at a rate of 1,000 per month, so that is a huge increase. So he said that congestion was increasing, so what is the government doing about it? And he also brought up the issue of public transport in that it is used mostly by foreigners, and the locals would like to use the public transport, but I think he mentioned something about quality and network distribution. So the minister responded that the Brunei government, the Land Transport Department is currently looking into this issue, and the study began in 2006 with regards to public transport in collaboration with the Japanese Land Transport Department, but they have yet to come to a sort of conclusion to the study. He said that the reason for this was because they were doing a very comprehensive study, so they needed time. And he also said that they're doing a master plan on public transport, but this is yet to be unveiled for the same reasons. But he did, however, recognize the fact that there are a huge number of cars on the road at the moment, because the number of active vehicles in 2008 was over 100,000. I think that's a huge amount. So to bring you back to the theory, there are 3 potential factors that can affect travel behavior. I sort of categorized it into behaviors and attitudes. So for example, in Brunei, we are very dependent upon the car, so it may be a sort of attitude thing. that we do have to change if we want to reduce car dependency in the country. Another factor is fiscal incentives or disincentives. For example, instead of providing subsidies to fuel in the country, we could put taxes on, and that would affect the number of cars on the road, but I don't think it would be very popular. And the main focus of my research is the land use, built environment characteristics, and how this affects travel, which I will explain further on. To sum up at the topics, this is just one example of a whole range of attitude issues with regards to transport, but I thought it did it quite nicely. So would you rather drive a Ferrari?
Yes.
See? Or would you rather take public transport? And I think most of us would